Hello, everybody. It's Friday. It's midday, and it's Wow Ergonomics. And I'm smiling, and Stephen's smiling because
Yeah.
we've just
We
had
know
a
what's
little.
coming.
Yeah, we know what's coming.
We know what's coming.
We've just had a little glimpse of the future.
Yes.
As we spoke to our guest today.
Yeah.
But before we bring him on to cause chaos,
Yes.
how's your week been?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. This is the highlight. Obviously, everything has just been building up to this because this guy is. I mean, I wouldn't like people to know that he's one of the good ones and he's a good guy, but he is, and he is very good value for money. So I'm looking forward to the next 45 minutes in this gentleman's company.
Fantastic. Well, look, let's not leave it any longer.
Without further ado,
people are dying now to see Oliver Jones. It almost feels like an Oasis comeback. I feel like with Oliver coming on now. Whether he can live up to that in his anorak. Here he goes. Oliver Jones.
Unbelievable.
What an intro.
I mean, it's a pretty big start. So I think you've actually underplayed it in a lot of respects there, really.
Do you want us to, should we start again?
You feel like you're bigger than Oasis then?
Well, your words, not mine.
Right.
As a point of reference, my birthday is the 25th of December, so second coming, that sort of intro would have been more appropriate. But yeah, sure gig. I'm just here to sprinkle some joy on everybody's lunchtime on a Friday. So
you're just here to entertain the masses, aren't you? Really?
Yeah, that's my job. Entertainer.
Yeah.
Assessor, seller.
Do you feel like you are the Liam Gallagher of the assessment world?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what that actually means, but it's a tag that I would.
You have the attitude. You have the
attitude. I've got the, I'm bigger than the rest of you, and well, Stephen and I worked together over a number of years now, and he can back me up on that. He knows the story. He knows the story. Morning glory.
What's the story? Well, where did the story start then?
Which one? I've got about 1,000.
Oh, okay. Well, tell people who haven't met you before.
Okay.
Where did your story in the world of assessments start?
Well, it started at Backcare Solutions, who are my employers, and that was about in November. It'll be 12 years since we began our little journey together. I'm in it for life now because A, Backcare Solutions is a fantastic company to work for, and B, and there's probably about 7 more bullet points here, but we'll go through them. So B, I'm really enjoying what I do. And on a serious note, I've had jobs in the past which people have asked, what do you do? And I've said, I've told them, but reluctantly, and I'm like, it's not a great job, that is. I'm not that proud of it, but I am very proud of what I do, getting people back into work, keeping people back into work. And when you get a little bit sort of fuzzy-wuzzy about it, you can change people's lives, what we do. And what our industry does. I mean, it's not specific to Backcare what I do, but what our industry does and can do, it allows people to maybe retain their role as a breadwinner in a family. If they've had 6 months off work because nobody can get their workstation right for them, or if there's problems that nobody else can find the solutions to, generally they end up at my doorstep. And with the experience that I've gained over those 10, 11, 12 years, and knowledge and connections, I can always get an answer. And if I can't, I know somebody who can, and I'm really proud of that. So, and I'm in it for life, really. So that's my story. I've done all the jobs in the company, but settled about 10 years ago it's kind of under the sales umbrella, really. And we've got a team of people who make up that now, and we're as big as we've ever been. Originally, it was just one person, then it was 2. For a long time, it was me and my mate Ben who were doing it. But we're so busy, we've had to take on 4, 5, 6 other staff in our department now. So,
wow,
it's a reflection of how good we are, and probably awareness in the industry as well that businesses has helped with this. So that's me as what I do for a living. I do assessments, I do exhibitions, I provide advice. People come to me now. I do awareness sessions. Did one last month in Birmingham, where a large organisation didn't know what DSE looked like really, and what compliance even looked like. night. So we said, well, I set up a little sort of place in the coffee area for a day, and the people that came in just sitting on basic chairs suddenly had their eyes open. So awareness is a thing that I do as well, and training and sickness management and prevention. You know, because MSK is the second biggest reason for time off sick in this country after mental health. So that probably goes under the radar with a lot of organisations as well, because you just think, oh well, we'll just put a chair in, etc., or we'll make sure the keyboard works. But it's obviously a lot more to it than that, because there's a lot of people out there in pain and don't know it or don't know why that's the case. So awareness and compliance are all come under what I look after as well.
How's it changed in 12 years?
Well, there's two answers to that. When I first started, a lot of our business came through the Access to Work scheme, and majority of our work was that, because we were a relatively young company. We're 22 years old, and that's half of our lifespan away. But that's completely changed now from our point of view. So speaking from a business point of view, we've got a lot more heavyweight. We're probably second biggest ergo supplier in the country now, I would guess, from a nothing start. So a lot of our business now is with contracts. We win a lot of contracts. The goodwill's out there. The word of mouth has grown. So the Access to Work side of it is just really cherry on the top. Really, it's not really scratching the surface of what percentage of our business is. And hopefully, none of this is too commercially sensitive in the greater good. But the biggest change really came post-COVID. 2020 lockdown. Everybody worked from home, and within a year, awareness of how bad sitting with poor posture or prolonged poor posture is for your health became a massive mushrooming business. So that really was how that was a big change in the landscape for us. So in the subsequent years after that, the awareness of assessments and the awareness of legalities, really. A lot of people were non-compliant, going under the radar, not doing assessments. You know, people were just getting a job as a DSC employee, and they weren't even assessed at all. So they'd be sat in crap positions for years on end, and then end up having time off sick. So that's the big game changer. The landscape changed. You know, it was a horrible time, horrible thing for lots of people, but in terms of awareness and just basically the whole industry has changed over that sort of 2 years from 2020 to 22. I'm sure Stephen will back that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, it was interesting you mentioned Access to Work, because I was just going to wonder, Oliver, obviously with your knowledge of that, it's a phrase that we hear a lot in our industry because we work in it. But for people out there who are in employment, who are having issues, what does that mean to them, and how do they access to work? What does it look like? Is anyone able to access it? Is it very much what does it mean to you, and how do people get into it, as it were?
Well, so I think that deep intake of breath before he's about to answer probably tells you quite a lot about what he's about to say.
Okay.
I just think it's a phrase we hear a lot, but do people actually know what it is, and do they know how to get to it? That people out there potentially who are entitled don't know how to navigate the whole way around that.
Well, I'm also going to argue I don't even know that it knows what it is. All right, but I'll let Oliver take it.
Right. So for those who don't know, Access to Work is a government-funded scheme headed by the Department for Work and Pensions. Its biggest job is to try and eliminate workplace barriers. So basically, if somebody's struggling to stay in work or get back into work for whatever reason, you can go to Access to Work as a private applicant. It's not done by the employer. The employee does it as a personal application. They will approach the DWP. It's on a website, of course, and you spend an hour filling in these forms. And if you qualify for the program, someone at some point will then come and assess you, and they will identify hopefully what those barriers are. In our business, obviously, it's DSE stuff, so it might be a chair, a desk, seating, keyboard, monitor, mouse, environment, whatever. And then that report will then be filed and say, this is your problem, this is your solution, and this is where you go to get those products or items or whatever it is that have been recommended. And it's quite a wide-ranging thing. It isn't just about our industry. It covers lots of other things. And you can get things like taxis funded. You can get things like software. You can get coaching. Massive area of growth is neurodiversity in that now for strategy and any other issues that relate to neurodiverse issues. And I even had a guy, I saw report that came over my desk a few years ago. A guy who was a self-employed guy, he was a beekeeper, and he got 50 grand towards some new beehives for some reason. Not quite sure how that process went, but that's how diverse it is.
Right.
So it basically does two things for a lot of people. Number one, it identifies what the problems are and the solution is. And number two, for smaller organisations, it will also provide funding. So if you're a small organisation under whatever it is, X amount of people, 25, 30 people, you get 100% funding, or if you're a charity, you'll get 100% funding. And as your organisation gets bigger, there is a sliding scale of how much funding is put forward. Ultimately, anything over £1,000 doesn't get funded, and it's a little bit of a contribution from the government. So finds out what the problems are, finds out what the solutions are, and the smaller companies gives you the money to put those solutions in place. That's kind of it in a nutshell, but it is mired in classic DWP, classic government red tape and administration. And so it can be a lengthy process and quite painful for people, particularly if they're struggling in the first place. So yeah, it's still going. How long it'll go for, we don't know. There are rumours in the industry about it being switched off or changed, funding being withdrawn, but that's all just rumours. And I think the government are very nervous about doing anything radical with it, because a lot of people depend on the support and the finance that it provides.
Well, I know, Stephen, we've lost your camera for a minute.
No, I'm here, but my signal's really scratchy, so I've turned the camera off so I can still participate. So I am here listening, participating.
Okay, just in case people are watching.
Yeah,
some people will be watching this. They'll be like, "Oh, where's he gone?"
I'm here. Hello.
They thought that pop down the pub for 5 minutes.
He's heard me waffling on before. He knows what the crack is.
For me, I think it's quite interesting. I see that the tide's already turned with access to work, because a lot of funding is getting changed, and a lot of funding is getting changed in terms of, or a lot of the adjustments are getting changed. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not overly happy with it, because I feel like there's a massive, especially on the neurodiversity piece, of a massive misunderstanding about what people actually need. I hear from a lot of people that they're not actually getting listened to in assessments of that kind of ilk. And what I hear is that people are being offered more and more kit and software solutions and things like that. But actually, that's not what they need, because actually all that's happening is they're then getting overwhelmed with having all of this extra stuff laden upon them, as opposed to somebody helping them with what it is that they have a problem with. And as part of that, and I'd love your take on this, but as part of that, I think half the problem is that it seems to me that a lot of the people involved in the process feel like they can make normal people that are abnormal, which is not what this should be about, right? If somebody's neurodivergent, for example, and thinks in a completely different way, actually trying to get them to think like everybody that's neurotypical is not really the answer. And saying, well, so you're bad with time management, we're going to make you good at time management. You're probably not going to be able to make them good at time management, right? Because do you know what? Their brain doesn't actually work that way. What you need to do is help them with the problem of time management, right? By putting in a proper solution which allows them to continue to be bad at time management, and doesn't mean that they have to think about time management. That is actually a better solution. What seems to be happening is people are getting pushed more and more into, well, we can actually change your behaviors. And that for me is, I think, problematic.
I think when you look at something as deep rooted as neurodiversity, then you're probably right, because it's not an equipment. It's more, a lot of it's more understandings on flexibility from the workplace. So if poor time management is an issue, then a really good progressive employer would factor that into their day. So it's a little bit out of our area of expertise, neurodiversity. But I think to add to your conversation about the suitability and the fit for purposeness, if that's the word, of the access to it process, it's now the biggest problem I see for me is poorly qualified assessments. People who are actually carrying out the assessment don't understand the problem. And so everything from that point onwards is doomed to fail. So we get a lot of ergo assessments coming to us from access to work contracted companies, but their background is in neurodiversity. So great, they've got that aspect covered, but then they haven't got a clue what a chair looks like or how to deal with somebody with severe sciatica or chronic ankylosing spondylitis or something like that. So then the problem then becomes, and I'm sure the industry knows this already, but then the problem comes back to a supplier who says, well, you probably need this. And then you've got a massive conflict of interests. So the whole sort of thing becomes a mess.
Yeah.
So it begins and ends with the quality of assessment. So if you're really good, if you're a 40-year-old neurodiverse assessor who's been doing it for 20 years and knows the tricks, can suggest workplace adjustments, because reasonable adjustments is part of this. Yeah. And as I go back to the start of this little mini rant, is that good management is as good a tool as a piece of software or coaching, because that will allow that person to become part of the organisation in a much better and appropriate way. It's not always about chucking £300 or £600 at somebody. And that's what a good assessor should be able to do, identify the right solution. And most of the time, not most of the time, that's unfair, quite a lot of time, the problems begin and end with a poor assessment.
Yep. No, I agree with that. And I feel like part of that poor assessment process is that you have people that don't have the knowledge base there in the first place to do it, and or have not been trained to do it, and secondly, they're not listening. They're not actually listening to the person in front of them. They have an agenda, or their process is agenda led, and that agenda doesn't allow them to listen. Because ultimately, I mean, you'll know yourself that if you go to do an assessment, you can't go with any preconceived ideas as to this is how I'm going to solve this for this person, right? But if you walk in with, even say, let's take it down to the basics of like furniture. If you walk in with the you know, the assumption that I've got to give this person one of these chairs, right? This is the chair that I want to put into place for these people. And you find that, you know, that chair isn't going to do the job, right? You need to know what is available that is actually going to do that job, right?
It's a classic thing where you go to the very heart of ergonomics, which is what we talk about, and this is the title of this show. The very heart of ergonomics revolves around the maxim of making the task fit the person, not the person fitting the task. So if you're trying to jam something in that you know is a great product into a situation that it doesn't fit in, the whole thing, again, it just falls apart. It doesn't work. You've got to make the problem fit the person, and not the reverse. You're not going to jam somebody's mindset or physical issues into a solution that you've come in with your back pocket here because you've got it in a catalogue and you know it's worked for the last person. It doesn't work like that. Everybody. That's the problem with dealing with humans. Everybody's different. I can get 10 people lined up who look the same, talk the same height, same weight, same problems, and 8 of those people will have a different idea of what's the right solution for them. Humans work in a funny old way. It's difficult.
Yeah, messy is what I like to call it.
Messy is one way of doing it. Slightly less positive, but
well, no, I think messy is actually a very positive word. I feel like, you know, I almost feel like if we put down like all of these different labels and say, well, you know, rather than necessarily have to go, oh well, they are, you know, they have this disability or they have that or whatever else. You know, we are all messy, right? That's the thing. We are all quite complex. Then there's another
complex
word.
Is the word.
Yeah, we're all very complex. We're all a little bit messy. We're all we all come with different experiences. We all have different ways of thinking or whatever. And it, you know, one of the things that you have to do if you're a great assessor, I think, is you have to very quickly try and get it, as much as you can, get into the head of the person that you're assessing. And that's a really hard job. You know, I honestly believe that there's probably only a handful of people that do it really, really well. So, you know, hats off to you for doing it for so long. And I think the tenure of how long you've been doing it probably speaks to the fact that you can do it very well. Here's Stephen.
Sorry. Hello.
Where have you been?
What did I miss?
You missed an unbelievable bit of work by me, and I can't even think of how to repeat that. So that's gone.
I'll have to go and watch it back. I'll have to go and watch it back, then I can see.
On +1.
Yeah. Have you have you got the drinks? Did you bring them?
No.
No.
I will.
Oh, he's been out all that time. He's been out all that time, Oliver, and he didn't even bring us a biscuit or a drink.
I've just realised I put my name as back guru on there. That was quite funny, wasn't it? Really?
That's impressive. Yeah.
Go on, ask me another question.
Well, so what in that 12 years and that and the change of work, etc., what's harder now in terms of getting it right for people?
There's still a reluctance in large organisations to commit to capital investment in people. So, for example, somebody's on 60 grand a year, knackered back, to the point where they can't come into work, so they'll take 2 months off sick leave. But for a one-off purchase, let's call it an average figure of 1,500 quid, they would most likely, obviously there's no medical intervention from the chair, but it puts them in the right position, prevents poor posture, all the usual sort of stuff. If that makes a difference, literally, almost literally, it's a no-brainer for any large organisation to jump up that 1,500 quid and say, there you go, our sort of board member is back in and is producing. But the short-termism of budget holders, and a lot of the times it's because it's government bodies and the finances are knackered and the budgets are so tight. And that's the biggest sticking point, still convincing people that a one-off capital outlay on one person will pay itself back fairly quickly over in a short period of time, just because you haven't got that sick leave. You haven't got that mentality of everybody who suddenly has to take time off sick because they haven't got the right equipment on it. Just do it. And I appreciate, government bodies, NHS particular, are just, you cannot convince somebody who's only got £1 million quid to go around 1,000 staff every year. It's just hard, that, and the priorities. But people are your biggest asset, and I think without investing into your staff particular, then the rest is just all going to fall apart, really.
I think there's pockets of people out there who get it, though. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago going into an NHS location and talking.
Oh,
he's got a crap internet, hasn't he?
He really has. He's got the mice in there today, like in a little nest.
Yeah. Well, me and Stephen and a couple of other Ergos players worked on a trust in Wolverhampton, Royal Wolverhampton Trust. And we went down and we set up a little demo place for them in a physio centre. And we went into the hospital, and me and Tom from SCORE went into a theatre where this guy was doing operating, and we put this real specialist stuff for this guy whose back was knackered and who's doing eye surgery. And then about a month later, I said, any chance of any business, any orders out of this? And he said, we've had to pull all unnecessary or unplanned expenditures. So you're going to have to get all your kit and take it away, and that's it. You think, Christ, this guy's doing. Me and Tom sat in there, he did 3 cataracts in 45 minutes, changing people's lives, and this guy's back was gone, because obviously as a surgeon you're always in an awkward and poor position. And we got this SCORE seating in for him, and then he said, yeah, it's great, I'll have one of them. I said, right, we'll just need to get the paperwork all sorted out. And then the trust said, all unplanned expenditure has been taken off board, we had to get all our kit off. So just horrible. But Stephen was talking about some good expenditures before his cable fell off.
Yes, but to put another 50p in the meter. But yeah, that person's sort of point of view was the fact that actually it was worthwhile investing the money because their biggest drain was sickness. And if someone was off sick, they'd have to bring someone else in and pay overtime or agencies or whatever. So there are pockets of people out there who get it, but it's definitely in the minority of people who see that worthwhile investment in, whether it's a physical product, whether it's a piece of software, versus actually I'm going to hang on to the money. They still don't quite get it, and and I guess it's.
But it's because
probably
it's
in the
still all
public sector.
reactive, isn't it? It's still reactive. It's, I mean, bringing it back to the start of this conversation, I think it's amazing, right? I've been doing this business now for 6 years this year, and so I've been out of ergonomics for quite a while. But you know, even when I started in that field, we're still talking about the same stuff, right? We're still talking about the fact that people don't know about access to work. We're still talking about the fact that most people don't know about DSE, display screen equipment regs, HSE. They don't know about that. You know, doesn't matter how, and everything is still a band-aid, right? For the majority, everything's still a band-aid. And yet we hear, and if you go on LinkedIn any day, you hear everyone going on about culture change and, you know, leadership change at the top and, you know, new way of thinking and whatever. And it's like, well, hang on a minute, there's something just doesn't add up here, right? If businesses are starting to think and act in a different way and the leadership and the culture is changed in a different way or whatever, why is all this ergonomic bit still being reactive and still being a plaster being put on a thing?
I think it's a culture thing. This country, ergonomics in this country is still sort of, it's very sexy and new and funky. It's not. The Scandinavian countries have been doing it for decades. You know, I wheeled out a hog bespoke to a group of people in a training session. They go, "Oh, look at that! That's new and funky." It's a 40-year-old chair.
40 years old, yeah.
Yeah, as Stephen will tell you, you know, it's just 40 years old.
Never seen one like that before.
No, it was on Star Trek: The Next Generation in the 90s.
Yeah.
So this is not new. It's not new. This is 40, 50-year-old stuff, but it's a design classic and that's a culture thing. The UK is, it does my head in at times. I love being in this country and I love everything about being British, but it does my head in sometimes that the lack of progressive thought that goes into things that really matter like this. So the Scandinavians, all the big ergo stuff comes from Scandinavia. They were decades ahead of everybody. And we were just like, oh, I'm not spending £1,000 on a chair. Well, why should I do that? I can get one off Amazon for £100. Yeah. It's just that culture is ingrained into our society where, like I say, it's always reactive. Let the problem occur and then we'll spend twice as much as we need to in the first instance to solve that problem.
Is there still cynicism? Are the budget holders cynical as to whether someone actually needs it and therefore they're not prepared to spend money?
Yeah,
that's a big part of it. But the thing is though, we're talking about this going on for 10, 20, 30 years. It can't just be still that single great group of people. It's just it's like Oliver said, it's like a cultural sort of thing that it just passes on. That actually, do you really need it? And we don't break that cycle.
I'll take it back to what Oliver was talking about a minute ago, right? The budgets get cut or the budgets get frozen from time to time and whatever because of overspend, right? And yet people are spending on the talent. But you know what the problem is here? The problem is that we rush everybody up the ladder as quickly as possible, right? I was talking about this earlier on a different podcast about the whole area of training and education and whatever, right? We don't give anybody any time to develop in a career now. Where you try and rush everything through and do everything as quickly as possible, right? To get someone from A to B as quickly as possible because you know we've spent some money, we get them in, and now we've got to get as much out of them as possible. And half the problem is that we're not having sensible conversations with people about what's really important with them right from an early age. Now, I've in the past, when I was an employer, I had students over from Germany for a while, and I learned a lot there, right? Because a lot of these students were saying that they had to go and work because of the way that their education was funded, their university education was funded. They had to go and work for a company that had sponsored them through university, and they had to go in for a few years at the very lowest level. Okay. Right? And they had to expect that, and they had to learn they had to prove their worth and work up. You know, the trouble is we've created this culture. It's where like, oh, well, we've got to get the young talent in straight out of university. We've got to pay them that amount of money. Then you can't afford to buy them the stuff that's actually going to keep them in the job. Right.
That's a culture thing again. So continental Europe, German guys stay humble, start at the beginning of your roots. It's like that John Harvey Jones thing of 20 years ago, where he'd like go back to the shop floor and learn from his own business from scratch.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's just as I say, this country at times does my head in because the priorities are all wrong. I'm not having to go about the country itself, but it's a cultural thing. We just don't prioritise in certain cases the right thing. Not everybody's the same, and it's a sweeping generalisation, but they make good headlines, don't they? So I'm going to use it. It's just the culture's all wrong. Invest in your people, and look after itself.
But investing in people is actually learning to say no to people as well, in a way, or to educate people and actually say, do you know what? Do you really want to come and work for someone that's going to pay you the most money, or do you want to come and work for somebody that's actually going to look after you and develop you and take you somewhere over a period of time, right?
Exactly.
And it's the same with, I mean, I'm doing some stuff within the care sector, you know that, Steve. And I said to a whole load of experts within the care sector the other day, I said, do you know what the biggest problem is in the care sector? And they went, government, you know, on funding of it. I said, no, it's me. And they all looked at me and went, what? I said, no, it's me. I'm the biggest problem. I said, because yeah, it is me. There you are. Problem solved. Oh dear. Just get rid of me and it will all disappear. No, but what I said was, I'm in a few days, I'm 54. And at 54 years of age, nobody has ever talked to me about my provision of care for the future. No one's ever talked to me about it. People will talk to you about your pension. They'll talk to you about even your funeral plans. They'll talk to you about have you got this in place? Have you got that in place? Have you got critical illness, life assurance, or whatever? No one's going to go, what's going to happen when you need to care for somebody like your parents or whatever, or when you need care? No one's ever talked about it. And like, you know, there's a massive opportunity here. There's an opportunity for organisations to even get involved in that as well and go, actually, you're going to start worrying about care, right? If you go and have a look today, Oliver, after this, at the figures for the amount of time lost in work in corporations in the UK and the cost of that for people having to care for relatives. Billions.
Has it got lots of zeros at the end of it?
It's billions, right? Right. And so corporations need to get involved in that. People need to go, okay, we need to look after you. If you're going to come in here and work for us, it's not all about your overall wage. You do need to be putting money aside for this, that, and the other. So actually you can be less burnt out up here, because part of the burnt out thing that's going out through the roof at the moment comes down to people worried about life. It's like, how am I going to pay for that? How am I going to pay for this? How can I afford a house these days?
No, I know a 20-year-old now is not going to afford a house, particularly in the southeast of England. So priorities suddenly go like, what? Your priorities suddenly go from what brilliant flat can I have in Islington to how can I put a roof over my head? You know, that triangle of needs, suddenly you shift down it, you know. I'm talking about societal issues here, but this is where we are now. You know, there's the level of aspiration in this country, I think, has had to be downgraded quite a lot simply because cost of living has gone so great, and your priorities shift when that happens. So it's gone from, you know, how much can I spend a month on a rental on a car to how much is a season ticket on the train kind of thing.
Can I ask you, Oliver, when you do these assessments, how often do you feel like not only someone going in to talk about ergonomics, but you feel like a social worker. You feel like you're the first time someone's ever offloaded about something. You feel like you're, you know, it's the first time that you know, maybe a sort of internal communications dispute has ever been raised or whatever.
I get people in tears. I've had criers on many occasions, and there's two parts. Number one, when you actually show them. So we're getting back into ergonomics now, which is great because that's my bag. But when you actually show somebody what a decent chair, for example, looks like, having spent 30 years sat on tat, it can be an emotion. It can be an emotional experience for them because it's such like the scales have been lifted from their eyes, almost literally, and suddenly they find a chair with lumbar support that goes up and down and is comfortable and fits just the basic DSE compliance levels. It's just an eye opener for them. You then put them on a Gransmith chair with memory foam and the full sort of rocking action and all that, and they think they've just died and gone to heaven. It's just like, oh, king of the castle, that sort of thing. So, and they do get very, honestly, I've had people in tears. And then the other side of it, when you go out and deliver the equipment, because I've done that as well. I've been out there and done the hard slog, and they just set it all up, give it. Honestly, I couldn't carry on working as I was. Now I can. And it is emotional because you're getting into the very nub of people's needs again here, because they need to be able to work, they need to be able to sit in comfort, and you've taken care of that, and it does get emotional, and people are very thankful. And we often, you know, we collect and collate reviews from customers, and some of the phrases and the terms and the words they use are very emotional and evocative. They're not just 5 stars, great job. They go into specifics about the person they dealt with, the names, they were great, such and such, it was fantastic, because that's how they feel about their experience. Obviously, just through background, I'm sure other companies provide fantastic service as well, but that's the level, you know, you're attacking this bit here as well as this bit here. You're in the head as well as the MSK frame. Yeah. That's how good it can be.
A little bit lighter subject for a minute.
Yes.
Do you feel like as well though, Oliver, that actually more decent ergonomic chairs ought to be fitted with the equivalent of a Ring doorbell? Because and I say that well, I say that because I've seen everything under the moon at different you know, call centers and whatever. People put plastic bags over the top of them. People sellotape things to the back saying, "Keep off my chair. If you touch this, I'll kill you."
Used to be Tip-X written on the back of the chair with the name.
And I just feel like someone's missing the mark. If you could build like a Ring doorbell in that goes to your phone and like gives you like a little like, right, Jimmy, I knew you touched my chair. That's a great idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some sort of electric shock if someone other than you sits in the chair.
Yeah,
like that scene from RoboCop.
Yeah.
Where the guy gets in the car at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then it chucks him out.
Yeah, thumb access. If you can't get your thumb ID to get into the chair, it just goes and sends you 50 foot in the air. Brilliant.
No, I think the Ring doorbell things. I think the Ring doorbell thing's got, you know, got something to it. But people do get very, very protective over their kit when they you know, fought for it and they finally got it. But
quite rightly, to be fair though.
Yeah, quite rightly. But is there a problem there as well? Because one of the things that I used to see an awful lot and got right on my nerves, to be honest, was that sometimes when people then went and set a chair up, they'd give the person an impression that they'd now been set up in their chair. But what they didn't do is they didn't show the person how to adjust their chair.
Big thing, that.
And so what happens is you then get calls where like someone's going, somebody touched my chair and now it's not right. And you just think, but you should know how to make it right for you. Yeah. And I feel like I still feel like that's a massive problem. And I feel like it's actually detrimental to companies buying into kit because they don't want that problem.
The buying in thing is it. So if I do it or any of our technicians go and do personal delivery and setup, they have to give probably 15, 20 minutes sat with that person explaining what the controls do, but not only that, but why they do it and what the benefits are. So seat angle changes the pressure points. Oh, that's great. I didn't know that. Armrests are here to take the weight off your shoulders and neck. Oh, I didn't really know that. Make sure they're set the rail. So if you get that buy-in, and for 99% of people, they want that buy-in because they're in this for the real reason, they will take that up and take it on board. If you get these people who just drop chairs off, I've seen a guy, loads of times, you drop a chair off, unset up, they'll sit on it without saying, okay, this is the wrong chair, and they'll send it back.
Yeah.
And all it needed was 5 minutes adjustment, setting up, getting it all sorted. And it's a whole different experience for them. You go, oh, right, I didn't know you could do that. I get it all the day, every day. Calls giving it, this chair, the armrests are a bit low. Have you tried lifting them up? How did they go up? Yeah, they're like three-dimensional, these armrests. So really important that. So the buy-in is the key to engagement with the end users to make sure that they understand the process and understand the logic of why you're doing it, and that will help massively going forward.
Yeah, my favourite was ratchet back adjustments on the back of a chair.
Yeah.
Right? And people go, it's broken. And you go, no. And you quite often they go, have you got a coat? Yeah. Do you put it on the back of your chair? Yeah. So you're sitting on your coat. Yeah. So, and then what happens is as they sit on their coat, right, they do that and the coat moves it up off the ratchet. Up and it drops it down.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, could you put the coat somewhere else? Oh, why is that? Because it's doing that. Oh, I didn't know it did that. Oh.
Now, apart from loving his job at Wow Ergonomics, I know two great loves of Oliver Jones's. I mean, we need to ask him about these before we finish.
Go on then.
First one's he loves cricket.
I do.
He doesn't he don't like cricket. He loves it.
He loves cricket.
I love it.
He does.
Cricket and
Will
else.
England, or do England have a cat in hell's chance of winning in Australia this winter? That's the question.
Well, we know the answer to that. So
we do.
It's all about fitness. About fitness. Me and you've talked about cricket many times. It's all about fitness. So if Wood and Archer stay fit, we've got half a chance. If they don't, and Stokes as well, of course. So those three bowlers are really what are going to take. You need to take 20 wickets in a test generally to win the game. And without those three on full steam ahead mode, then we'll struggle. But on the flip side of that, in terms of Australia, top three looks a bit questionable. Top four looks a bit questionable. Khawaja, where's he in his game? Labuschagne, where's he in his game? Steve Smith, where's he in his game? Openers up for question. Warner's retired now. Pat Cummins is back on the way out. Stark's retired from white ball cricket. What's Nathan Lyon doing? They are an oldish team. That machine is now coming to the end of its useful life. And we've got some young lads coming in. So Atkinson and Tong and Potts. I'm a bit disappointed we haven't taken a different spinner or another spinner. But Shoaib seems to be the man at the moment for Bazball. So we'll see. And Will Jackson's a backup spinner who's questionable. But we do also have Joe Root. So Joe Root can do a job with it to take 10 overs off somebody. So I'd say it's probably 60-40 Australia because they've got home advantage.
I told you he knows anything he knows about. Anything he's involved in.
He sounded like he could actually, present cricket there.
I'll do that if you want, yeah.
He'd be all over it.
Yeah,
he'd be all over it.
Good. Is there any way? I mean, in cricket, one of the disadvantages of cricket, I would have thought over certain sports, is that you can't go and injure the other team. If you talk about like your weakness. Well, how? What? Just by hitting the ball at them, or
get one of these, send it at 90 miles an hour at somebody's head, and they'll know about it.
Yeah.
I have this. I have props, as you can see.
Okay, so. Would that be?
That's part of the job. Kill somebody. I want to kill that guy.
Should that be part of our tactics then? If we've got a younger squad, just like maim some of the old guys.
That's it. That's what Wood and Archer's job and Stokes' job is. Knock their heads off.
Borderline. Wasn't it called Borderline?
Borderline 1934. So Douglas Jardine.
That's what England did, wasn't it? They just basically targeted, and it was almost a deliberate.
So we should see that tactic come back out again this summer.
Well, the problem with that, it did change the rules of the game, the bodyline tour, because now you can't have more than two fielders behind square on the leg side between the umpire and square and that back quadrant. So because what England did is put short balls down the leg side and put 8 fielders down there. they can't do that anymore. There are field restrictions that won't allow you to do it. All you need to do is ball throw. Look at the West Indies team in the 1980s. They just killed teams with pace and subsequently fear. People were going out shaking to bat because they had guys bowling at 95 mile an hour at their head.
They're like that going, oh.
Yeah.
And used to do it with helmets. The helmets only came sort of a thing in the early 80s. Just go with a little green cap on.
I know, it's crazy when you see
The
sport.
hard-balled cricket balls, let me tell you.
Yeah. No,
He's
absolutely.
passionate about whatever he's involved. We didn't even touch on Blackburn Rovers either, did we?
Well,
So,
I was going to say, that was the first thing. So Blackburn Rovers is
Blackburn Rovers. Now, this one we need his opinion on, because something controversial has happened this week. And Graham, you're not a huge football fan, but you'd be might interested in this story. So, Blackburn last Saturday had a game that was abandoned after 79 minutes because of a waterlogged pitch.
Yeah,
Blackburn Rovers were winning 1-0, and the opposition had a man sent off and were down to 10 men.
Good research.
Now, the FA have decided yesterday that the game has to be totally replayed from
11?
the start, with 11 aside, with a 0-0. And that's caused quite. I mean, I would say, Oliver, if that would have been maybe one of the bigger sides, with all due respect to Blackburn, you would suggest it'd be more of a stink. But it's that must have caused a bit of annoyance in your household and your fellow Blackburn fans, I guess.
Yeah. So the first thing it was right to call the game off because the pitch was absolutely useless. There's a video of the referee I wasn't there, I was away, dropping the football at the centre circle, and he just goes and doesn't bounce. You kick it, it just goes. So you couldn't play on.
I played rugby back in the day on ground like that.
But the issue for the EFL was there isn't really a precedent, and they haven't got any rules, so they didn't know what to do. So they basically took an ear from Ipswich, who were the opposition, an ear from Blackburn, and obviously both sides are going to have it. And there's no surprise what they're going to say. We'll have the points, please, and we'll call that right. And Ipswich would say we want a full replay, and then they put it to a board of the EFL, which a lot of them had to abstain because they were a dog in the fight because they were competitors. So it just ended up saying, "Oh well, just probably do it again then, shall we?" So it does seem a bit unfair, but there's no rule. There was no rule apparently. There was no what do we do in this situation. So it stinks, but what are you going to do? Football stinks generally these days, I think.
Should they at least not have to decide who's kicking off?
Why don't they just play 10 minutes? Or maybe just have an arm wrestle, or I don't know.
Yeah. Why don't Ipswich, in fairness, what they should do is Ipswich, when the game kicks off, should allow Blackburn to run the ball into their goal and let the game start 1-0 and then 90 minutes.
That's a really interesting thing they should do. I think there is a precedent for a team doing that. So if they have to do the whole 90 minutes, let's just pass it around for 79 minutes. Then Ipswich let us score and then take somebody off and recreate the scenario. But that's what should happen, but that's far too sensible, isn't it, really? And nobody's going to buy into that. I'm not going to do that. So,
but the irony of all this is that the guy who got sent off still has to serve a ban. So if the game didn't take place, he has to serve a ban. It's just a quirky little situation. You try and draw it into a business analogy and look at it outside looking in, and you think none of it makes any sense whatsoever, does it?
Well, football doesn't make sense, does it?
No,
it's all about
so that
emotions.
the player that went off can't play.
He's got to serve a suspension.
Right.
But so even though the game didn't happen, even though the game didn't technically happen, he still gets a ban for getting sent off in a game that technically didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre.
Work that out.
Well, answers on a postcard.
At least he won't be on the team. So
no, that's the thing though. So the ban would be the next game Ipswich play. Who I don't know who that could be. Could be Charlton, Middlesbrough, might even be Sunderland. I don't know.
So it's not.
No, we're in the Premier League. It's not Sunderland.
So the rearranged fixture will be in the near future. So he'll have expired. His ban will have been played, expired. I mean, he'll be able to play in the games if he's selected. So like Steve says, bonkers.
Yeah, no, absolutely bonkers. Well, there we go. We've put the worlds to rights, and people know a little bit more about what you do, Oliver, as well. So if you're watching and you're thinking, well, we don't pay attention to any of that at the moment with any of our workers. You'd like to know a little bit more? Have a chat. Get in touch with Oliver. Find out what it's all about. That's what it's all about. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with another guest and another Wow Ergonomics. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed this little soiree into cricket and football and ergonomics on a Friday afternoon. And until next time, from Oliver, Stephen and myself, bye for now.
Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, take care.
Bye.
There we go.